Hi there. On weekends, we do reruns so that yours truly can take a couple days off. Look for a fresh new episode on Monday. Meanwhile, please enjoy this episode for this day from a previous year. I thank you so much for your indulgence and loyalty, and have a great weekend. Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for July 7th. July 7th is the 188th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 189th in leap years, with 177 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is eureka. Eureka may be an interjection to express triumph on a discovery, as in, Eureka, I have found it. Eureka may also be an adjective that means marked by sudden triumphant discovery, as in a eureka moment. Or eureka may also represent a Greek verb meaning I have found it, which also happens to be the state motto of California. Eureka is indeed from a Greek phrase that means I have found, and is traditionally an exclamation attributed to Archimedes upon discovering a method for determining the purity of gold. That said, Archimedes lived from around 287 BC to about 212 BC, so the word eureka had existed for a while before its first known use in more modern times. In 1603 as an interjection, and in 1948 as an adjective. Eureka. And with that, Joan of Arc was acquitted of heresy on July 7, 1456, some 25 years after her death, when she'd been executed for heresy. Good to know that sometimes the powers that be can recognize and admit the errors of their earlier actions. The United States began its first military draft on July 7, 1863. The draft, as it's called, refers to military conscription, which is a state-mandated enlistment of people into a national service, usually men, usually for military service. It's my understanding that in the United States at this time, for instance, registration with selective service is still required for any young man. They're supposed to register with selective service within 30 days of their 18th birthday, even if they're not eligible to join the military. Here's a map of the world with our current understanding of conscription requirements by country. For the green ones, it says no armed forces. It says no enforced conscription for the countries shaded in blue. The countries shaded in purple have conscription active by law, but not everyone who's eligible for service is conscripted. The countries shaded in red currently have active conscription programs, and the ones in gray we don't know about. So the draft was enacted in the United States in 1863, which just so happens to coincide with the time around the war between the states, also known as the Civil War. And I forgot to mention, the draft was enacted, but if one had the wherewithal to do so, an exemption could be purchased. You could buy your way out of military duty for $300. Now, that doesn't sound like much these days. I guess people would be buying their way out of service right and left if that were still the case. But allowing for inflation, and the inflation calculator I have only goes back to 1913, $300 in 1913 would be closer to $10,000 in today's dollars. That's a pretty big bite. On July 7, 1898, President McKinley signed the New Lands Resolution to annex Hawaii as a United States territory. Sliced bread was sold for the first time on July 7, 1928, by the Chillicothe Baking Company of Chillicothe, Missouri. This was on the 48th birthday of the man who invented the automatic bread slicing machine, by which they were able to slice that bread and sell it that way. This is the birthday of Richard Starkey, born July 7, 1940. Only we know him better as English singer, songwriter, drummer, and actor Ringo Starr, drummer for the Beatles. Happy birthday, Ringo Starr. And in honor of Ringo Starr's birthday, today's song is I Get By With a Little Help from My Friends by the Beatles. Credited to the Lennon-McCartney writing team, Ringo sang lead on this one. It was included on their album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, released in March of 1967. It turned out to be a popular song, not only for the Beatles, but there have been at least 50 cover versions of I Get By With a Little Help from My Friends. 3 of those hitting #1 on the British charts. I Get By With a Little Help from My Friends by the Beatles. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page that is called No Really. And you can also find me on Rumble and BitChute. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Microphone over there. Hello. Okay. With 202 days remaining to the end of the world. End of the year. Please, not the end of the world. 202 days remaining to the end of the year. Let's read that one again. Yep, it is. That's what it's called. All right. Third time better be a charm. There's no "the" there. One more time. Attracting. Just read the whole thing over. Are you making some sound? Get on out of here. And we're going to edit that out. Don't alienate people who can be helpful to you. Flinging happiness all over the place. Alrighty. Back to work. I think we got it this time.